Why do they hike these GM foods? Profits can be genetically improved. Given the right, you know they'll choose to put profit before you.
It's Friday, and you know what that means. It's time for the Unhappy Hour live sports radio show on thenewamericanmedia.com. Here is your host, Brian Engelman.
Hey everybody, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of today's program. Yes, we were playing that song intentionally. It was a song about GM foods, that's genetically modified, GMOs, they call them, genetically modified organisms. And we had someone send us, this is from Diane, sent us a message saying that her brother is the writer and producer of this song from Sydney, Australia, and that it will be fine to play and disseminate the song on our radio show, Agree to Disagree. So consider that a little teaser, if you will, a little advertisement, an advertisement, as some people say. I'm trying to think how they would say it in Australia. I don't know. I'm not good at accents. Ask anyone who's heard me do my southern accent. I have a few really bad accents. But anyhow, coming up on Agree to Disagree at 4:30, we are going to talk with Pam Larry, who is with LabelGMOs.org. Because California is leading the way with this health initiative to label genetically modified organisms. We want to know what we're eating. So thank you very much, Diane, for sending that in. And if you want to check it out, it's you can look up Superweed, one word, Superweed, and then it says the GM food song. Pretty snazzy piece. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much. I'm your host, Brian Engelman. This is the Unhappy Hour. It's the place where us Cleveland sports fans get together and talk about all the unhappy days when the Cavs never won a championship with Mark Price, Brad Daugherty, Larry Nance, Craig Elo, or the crew. More with he who shall not be named, who took his talents to South Beach. We talk about, those great times in the 90s when the Indians just won so many went to a couple World Series series. That's not a good way to say it. Let's try when the Indians went to a few championship games. See, that's not a right good way to say it either. Went to multiple World Series. No, that's not a good way either. Okay, let's try this again. Where the Indians twice went to the World Series. Yay! Aww. See, that just reminded me. I miss having our producer to press the applause button and kind of go back and forth and have that witty banter. All right, Sean, this show is for you, buddy. To our dearly departed producer, Sean Flynn. Thank you for all of the shows we did together. But yeah, this would be the time where I would talk to Sean. Sean would be on mute, and I'd be like, "How about the applause?" Or I'd just cue it up really cheesily, and he'd know that that's what I was asking for. So anyhow, yeah, we talk about the Indians not winning the World Series, the Browns, being stolen and taken to Baltimore, where they won a Super Bowl over there. I've been around more than 3 decades, and I've never celebrated a Cleveland championship in any major sport. But here's the good news, everybody. We don't just talk Cleveland sports. We do talk sports in general. So obviously we're going to talk about Tim Tebow. We're going to talk about March Madness. We're going to talk about Peyton Manning. We're going to talk about the free agency and all the background soap opera stuff, the NBA playoffs. See, with this show being dedicated to Sean, just because it's happening that way, that's where I would say talking about the playoffs. And then, of course, Sean would know what meant by that. I'll bring that up in a second. But, we talk about all sorts of sports. And it's a good time of year right now because you have March Madness. And the really cool part about it, is that the Buckeyes are doing really well.
And that was a disgraceful performance, in my opinion. We threw that game. We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked. What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
And that was the other one of my favorite lines that we used to play all the time, anytime we talked about the playoffs.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you. We would always talk about the playoffs. And
Playoffs?
Yes, the playoffs.
I just hope we can win a game.
All right, fair enough, Jim Mora. Yeah, it's interesting because that was from Jim Mora way back when. What year was that exactly? Because, you know, we're talking about when Peyton Manning. It's been so long since Peyton Manning was not in the league, and now he obviously underwent the surgeries, and then he did not get re-signed by the Colts. They let him go to save $28 million, and then he just signed with the Denver Broncos, which caused them to release Tim Tebow, which brought Tim Tebow onto the Jets, and then that has Mark Sanchez concerned. And then their backup, Drew Stanton, is getting traded now to the Colts because he was told he was going to be the number 2 quarterback, not. It's just a soap opera, guys. It's a soap opera for dudes. You know, there's this guy, and I've talked about this guy a lot. The Factory of Sadness guy. And his name is Mike Polk. And he talks about how there are many more important things to be doing in this world besides getting wrapped up in sports. But he also makes this point. I know there are more important things to be doing on a day-to-day basis. I know that there are more important things in the world, and you are supposed to be a pleasant distraction from those things. That's why we love sports. Because it's supposed to be a pleasant distraction. I'm just going to play it for you because I love this thing.
Hey, Browns. Mike Polk, season ticket holder. Killer game in Houston today.
Well, thank God we built you. What a blessing for the community.
You are wasting valuable space on our majestic shoreline, and what do we get out of it from you? 10 miserable games a year, including 2 preseason games that I have to pay for, and 1 Kenny Chesney concert. Do you understand that it is actually statistically harder for a team to be this consistently bad than it is for them to occasionally accidentally be good? The probability is staggering. Did you happen to see that Packers-Chargers game today? It's like they're playing a different sport than you are. And here's what you have to understand. We don't even expect you to be good. We just want you to be watchable. Do you have any idea how low our expectations are? We don't expect you to win the Super Bowl. We just want you to look better than a Division III high school team. And listen, I know that there are way more important things in life than football, but you are supposed to be our pleasant distraction from those things. But all we do is pay you money to put us in a bad mood every week. You are a factory of sadness! I'll see you Sunday.
That is pretty hilarious because that's really how us Cleveland Browns fans feel. You know, coming up in April, we got the NFL draft. It's free agent season, and we haven't really done too much in the free agent market at all. Rumors were that we were going to trade the house, 3 years of first-round draft picks to get RG3. I mean, I'd say we need a running back, a right tackle, a number 1 receiver, a number 2 receiver, and I don't know, maybe a competent offensive coordinator before we go ahead and just give up on Colt McCoy like that and mortgage our entire future because Mike Holmgren's starting to feel the heat. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff to talk about. You know, we're kind of changing our format here. We're feeling a little. We're feeling what would the word be? Enabled? No. Motivated? Buoyed? No. See, there's so many synonyms. That's a problem with having a vocabulary full of sparsely used words. Because then sometimes 3 of them jumble together in your mind and you can't really figure it out. We're feeling adventurous, maybe. We're getting closer. But I guess we're tweaking our format. Let's just say that. We're tweaking our format a little bit. Usually we go through about 4 12-minute segments per hour, and then we have 4 commercial breaks. But, you know, we're getting a lot of good feedback. But by the way, thank you guys. I want to take 1 second. We're getting a lot of good feedback from everybody because we have... Here, let me hit refresh, because if you go to youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia, you will see that we have 9,819 video views. No, we have not gone viral. You know, something hasn't got 15 million hits. Like, you know what? I feel like playing it. I'm just in one of those goofy moods, I think. Here we go. You want to know what going viral means? I know you know what going viral means, obviously. But I think this is the one. Let's see how many hits are on this one.
Well,
100 million.
obviously we have a rapist in Lincoln Park.
You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
The man got away, leaving behind evidence.
So, you know, this starts to blend. I just love this song. This starts to blend into our political show because we obviously talk about SOPA and PIPA and all these things where it says, look, I'm not supposed to be able to play this for you without paying them. That's what part of this is. It wants to shut down people with ideas and want to do stuff. Now, I totally get. I totally understand that I'm not supposed to be making money off their stuff. But this is an advertisement. This is an advertisement. This was an advertisement for by here we go. You were just listening to Auto-Tune the News. Bed Intruder song, now available on iTunes. Yes, I was describing what going viral means, because this video has, yes, 100 million 82,639 views. So please consider that an advertisement or an advertisement to go purchase Auto-Tune the News Bed Intruder song, now available on iTunes. So you see what I did there? I just kind of glossed over my first commercial break to give you a free commercial for something that I'm not making money on. But if somebody had a political dissent or had a problem with what I was saying on a weekly basis, with PIPA, with SOPA, that Stop Online Piracy Act, you heard that uproar. I think Google and Wikipedia and YouTube and all these places went dark in protest of this. You know, it's this gray area of, well, I can't be making money off of somebody else's copyrighted material. I totally get that. I'm not making bootleg copies of the Incubus album entitled Make Yourself and selling it for $5 on a street corner in downtown Los Angeles. That is theft. I get that. Now I don't technically own the Jim Mora saying what Jim Mora said. Some television company wants to say, no, that's mine. You got to pay me to use that. Really? Okay. What are they making money on off of that? You know, certain things become public domain. At what point does something that's gone and had 100,082,000 hits become public domain? I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But it's all this gray area meant to just keep people from even trying. You know, I'm not even going to play that. I don't want to get in any trouble. But that, you know, that's kind of where people fall into the category of, I don't even want to talk politics right now. I just don't want an argument. You know, it's not supposed to be an argument. But if every time the important issues are breached, if every time an important subject arises in conversation and someone starts yelling at you and swearing at you and calling you a Nazi or a racist or a bleeding heart liberal or a freeloading scumbag or something, you know, then people start shutting up. But the reason we did this show here at the New American Media, 2 shows, we obviously blend them together. This is supposed to be sports. But, you know, we go off on tangents here. That's what happens when you are the producer, the engineer, the on-air talent, the the coordinator, everything. That's kind of what I do here. But the point that I was getting around to was we have not gone viral with our YouTube site, but we're requesting that you guys go on youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia and check out some of the videos. We cover different things, sports, politics, humor. There's a whole bunch of different things that we cover over here, and we're only 181 video views away from 10,000. Many more zeros to get that viral 100 million mark. That's fine. We're okay with that. We're starting. We are beginning, and we're starting to gain some momentum. We also want to encourage everybody. If you're not following us on Twitter, it's very easy to do. It's American_media_. That's American_media_. It's not very difficult to do, to go ahead and sign up for us and follow us there. We would like to thank the 5,173 people who are paying attention to what we're saying. Thank you very much. We certainly appreciate it. Hey, look, in the who to follow, it's almost like they're listening to my conversation. It's almost like Twitter samples keywords or even tunes into our radio show. Because look who's up here. Look who's up here. We have RonPaulToday.com. All right, I'll follow them. And then Tim Tebow. Had a really weird Tim Tebow dream yesterday that he got in a fight in the Dodgers clubhouse with Bobby Valentine. Really weird dream. Really weird dream. I don't even know if I'm going to get into it. It was just bizarre. And then I woke up and every channel I turned it on, all 6 ESPNs, they were all talking about Tim Tebow. So anyhow, thank you, 5,173 people, for following us on Twitter. Thank you so much. Please go find us on YouTube. Our regular site is thenewamericanmedia.com. But enough with the shameful. It's not shameful. Shameless. The awesome self-promotion. I'll call it the awesome self-promotion, not the shameless. But, we want you guys, because we haven't put a lot of these sports shows online. We're finding now, last week's radio show has 187 views. That's when we interviewed John B. Wells from Coast to Coast AM on our Agree to Disagree show. The week before that, we have 114 views. We talked about the Mayan calendar in 2012. We talked about Ron Paul and currency manipulation. And then our Buddy Roemer interview. He's another guy that's running for president. Not as a Republican or Democrat, but he's running. That has 346 views. So, piece by piece, follower by follower, retweet by retweet, we're starting to reach everywhere around the globe. We've had callers from Ireland talking to us on our live radio show all across the country. So this is really just to say thank you and to explain the difference between viral and not viral. And if you missed it, viral would be...
Well, obviously, we have a rapist in Lincoln Park.
Yes. Wait, what are you saying out there? That it's not loud enough for you to really enjoy it? All right. Once again, if you have not purchased this song, it's Auto-Tune the News Bed Intruder Song, now available on iTunes. I love this part right here. And I will say, I will say with no shame, with a laugh, that I downloaded this. I said, you know what? This has made me. The first time I saw it, this was taken from. Well, what the hell does this have to do with sports, guys? All right, I'm gonna get to sports because we have Zac Baris going to join us in just a minute. But the first time I saw this was taken from a news broadcast. Apparently, there was a break-in and then an attempted assault. And, like that girl just said, she was attacked by some idiot in the project. So it was this really kind of unfortunate story, but some really goofy characters, really cartoony articulation. I mean, these Antoine Dodson, just very interesting. You are really dumb for real. Sorry, once again, I'm not a voiceover expert. It was just interesting. And then these Auto-Tune the News guys took it and turned it into a song. And it's not funny just because they made a song of it. It's funny because the song is good. You hear the song a couple of times, and it sticks in your head. You'll be singing this all day.
I'm going to be singing this all weekend. We're looking for you. We're gonna find you. We're gonna find you so you can run and tell that. Run and tell that. Run and tell that. Homeboy. Homeboy.
Yeah, see, anyway, I got to close this because I'm going to keep playing it. Just like the playoffs thing. Nope, not going to do it. But anyway, the point is we are free form today. We are skipping some commercials, and we're going to go to Zac Baris right now. Zac is going to get us back on track, if we ever had a track. We'll call it sports.
Hello?
Zac Baris, Brian with the New American Media. You are live. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm living the dream. I don't know if you've been listening out there. Have you been able to catch the first part of our show?
No, I haven't.
Okay, perfect. It has been bizarre. I have been completely tangential, bouncing back and forth between politics and explaining fair use because I've been playing the bed intruder song, talking about the difference between something going viral and us having almost 10,000 video views on our YouTube account and the difference between it. So now I'm singing that bed intruder song. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not going to play it for you then, thankfully. And I just told the audience, all right, thankfully we're going to call Zac now, and he's going to get us back on track with some sports as if we'd been on track since the show started. So anyhow, let's reset this because, Zac, it's been a while since you've been on the show. Do you remember exactly the last time you've been on?
It had to be sometime in January.
Lord almighty, that's almost 3 months.
I've been out of town a lot. I've just been busy.
All right, well, let's tell everybody who you are, who you root for, where you come from, and what you've been busy doing, because I know what you do is related to sports.
All right, well, I'm Zac Baris. I currently work with the National Basketball Association. I work as a scout. I scout high schoolers and college players. I big fan of Cleveland sports, originally from Cleveland. I went to the University of Arizona, but I'm a big Ohio State fan, and always Browns, Cavs, and Indians.
Excellent.
And I just got back from Phoenix. I was at the Sweet 16 last night, and last week I was up in Portland. So it's just been a long trip for the last couple of weeks.
Well, welcome back to the program. By the way, I'm trying to find you on Twitter, and I'm searching ZAKBARIS. I'm not finding you on Twitter right now.
Just type in ZBARIS. It should show up.
All right, hang on. For all of our listeners, I
don't know why it's not showing up. That's weird.
Yeah, I did ZAKBARIS, but it would not search it. It wouldn't find it, and here you are.
Yes.
I'm going to say...
ZBaris, at ZBaris, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, if you guys like listening to Zac talk about all things sports, you can find him at ZBARIS. There you go. So I just said, howdy, Zac. Okay, we're connected again. So, where do you want to take things, Zac? It's been months since we talked. I think we had spoken right after the NBA started its shortened season, I think. When did the NBA start their season?
So. Right after Christmas. So I believe we talked right in January.
Yeah,
after the first week or two of the season.
So let's start there because you work in the NBA. You work as a scout. You go through college and high school. Let's talk about the NBA season, just overall. Talk to somebody just. If they haven't watched the NBA all year, what are the major storylines you're following? What do you think about the Cavs as far as the trades they're making, about the draft picks from last year? What do you think their chances of the playoffs are? I'm not going to play the Jim Mora playoffs thing right now, even though I usually do. And just take it where you want to, because a lot's happened since we last talked.
I mean, looking at the Cleveland Cavaliers this year compared to last year, they look a lot better, obviously. They have their point guard of the future in Kyrie Irving. Looks like a future superstar at the position. He's already, a borderline all-star to begin with this season. He's having a fantastic season, shooting around 50% from the field. He's just been fantastic for the Cavs overall. And, they're not too far out of the playoff hunt, and that's with an injured Anderson Varejao. I think if they had a healthy Andy, I think this team would be very close to 500 right now.
That's a very good point because Andy brings the hustle, the tenacity, he's able to spread the defense because he anchors so much of just all of those hustle plays down at the hoop, and we've still had a decent, some people. Let me not make my critique. What do you think about Antoine Jameson?
Here's the thing about Jameson. Jameson's obviously very inconsistent. He doesn't get a lot of rebounds. He just seems to be all over the place and takes a ton of shots. But let's put it this way: I believe the Cavaliers have 17 wins. A lot of those games we would not have won without Antoine Jamison. I mean, that's the case there. It's plain and simple. I mean, granted, he hasn't been the most valuable player. He's had some horrible games this season, but he's also had some very good games this season. And without him, I believe the Cavaliers don't have a second option on the court right now. That's the problem. You know, Tristan Thompson hasn't really developed offensively yet. No one really expected him to. I mean, he put up 27 and 12 the other night in New Jersey with 8 offensive boards, but he still hasn't, he can't really shoot anything outside of 8 to 10 feet. He's still shooting under 50% this season, which is not good for a power forward. But like I said, he'll develop in time. He's going to be a very good player. And, getting back to the Antoine Jamison, the Cavaliers just don't have a second option really behind Kyrie Irving to shoot the ball. So Jamison is that second option. And they need that. Jamison will not be on the team next year. Probably a 95% chance he will not be on the team. But they're going to have a chance to go out and sign, they're going to have $26 million under the cap next year. They have the ability to go out and sign a guy like Eric Gordon if, he's a restricted free agent. They can sign him or go and draft a Brad Beal if they're in position to from Florida. I mean, watched him last night play in the tournament. He was excellent. He'd be another great fit on the Cavs. It's shooting guard, 6'4". He's got a lot of size and athleticism for, he's just a great player too.
Well, the thing I was thinking about Jamison was, people have mentioned, this is another former number 1 NBA pick. It's a guy wrapping up his career. He's been in the league. I forget off the top of my head how many years. If you recall, please enlighten me.
Maybe 12 or 13.
Yeah, it's been quite a bit, and it's serving as kind of because Antoine Jamison has never really been one of those guys going out and getting into fights and being in the tabloids. He's kind of a decent role model as far as the reports that I've heard, and to kind of keep Kyrie Irving anchored. I've heard a couple of places say that Jamison might be willing to take a hell of a lot less. I mean, because he's making just the end of his deal money right now. But he might even resign for a million or two, a few million, just to sit there and be a coming off the bench kind of guy to kind of anchor the team. I think that would make a little sense. But yeah, with $26 million under, you got to go out and get somebody big.
I think if you can bring Antoine Jamison back at a really low price, and bring him off the bench, because obviously Thompson needs to be starting at the 4 next year.
Yeah.
If you can bring him back at a low cost, and have him come off the bench, we do need a scorer off the bench. Omri Cassidy has not panned out by any means.
No.
He's had an awful season.
Neither is JJ, though. JJ had just got cut by the Kings, though.
Oh, yeah, he just got bought out, and then he was supposed to sign with the Warriors, except he got, taken on waivers by the Portland Trail Blazers. But, he's had another miserable season. The problem with JJ is he just, he doesn't – I think he had a lot of trouble learning Byron Scott's offense. The Cavaliers –
Is it that he's not a smart guy?
Abandon the Princeton offense last year. From what I've seen around him is, I don't know if he, it's hard to say. I don't want to call anyone stupid, because I just don't like the word. But I don't know if he's separate. Obviously, when you have problems learning coaches' playbooks, obviously, that comes into the question. It's a lot like the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards have a lot of great basketball talent, but when you have guys that don't have high basketball IQs, you're not going to succeed no matter who you are. In order to win basketball games, sometimes a basketball IQ outweighs the talent. It happens a lot of times. And look at the Washington Wizards, for example.
Right. Well, let's talk about the basketball IQ, and let's talk about our rookie point guard, Kyrie Irving. He only played, I think, in 11 games at Duke all last year as a freshman. Came in, was the number 1 pick. And a lot of fans were saying, well, we have the number 1 pick as the Cavs, but it's a really lousy draft. I think it's pretty clear that he's a MVP or at least a Rookie of the Year candidate, and he's looking like a perennial all-star. He has that type of game about him. Let's talk about what you've seen out of our number 1 draft pick, Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving, last year I had the opportunity to watch Kyrie Irving a couple times last year in person at the beginning of the season, and then during the NCAA tournament against Arizona. Even though Duke lost the game by almost 30 points, Kyrie Irving was the only bright spot for Duke in that game. Nolan Smith faded away. Kyle Singler faded away. Kyrie Irving was making shot after shot. I believe he put up 28 points in that game against Arizona, and I just looked at his kid and I said, wow, I would love to see him in a Cavs uniform next year. And he has a very high basketball IQ. He takes smart shots. He knows when to drive to the hoop. He manages to dish it off. He doesn't make bad plays, and he's easy to coach. He's a very, very smart kid. His dad is a former basketball player. His dad's also a very bright guy too. There's a great article. I know it's a little off topic, but there's a great article that Jackie McMullen wrote about the Irvings, for the entire family during All-Star Weekend on ESPN. It's absolutely just a great article.
Was that the one? Was that the one where they talked about the World Trade Center?
Yeah.
That was a wonderful article. That was great. Who was the author on that? Where can they find that?
Jackie McMullen.
Okay, it was fantastic. I read the whole thing and I was really impressed.
And that just gives you the insight to Kyrie Irving on how he became who he is today. I mean, don't forget, this is the guy who just turned 20 this week.
Little boy.
Already, the guy was born in the 90s. You look at him and you're just like, this kid, he has a ton of, he's got composure. He's got everything you can ask for in a future star in this league. And he's going to be the face of this franchise. I truly believe that. I truly believe he can be the face of this franchise and a future star in this league.
Will he re-sign with the Cavaliers?
I think it's too early to tell, but if the Cavaliers can surround him with talent, I believe he will resign. He doesn't seem like one of those guys who's trying to deal with the big market, because look how it's played out for everyone who went to big market cities. LeBron hasn't won a championship in Miami, and from what I understand around talking to his people, that he's not very happy in Miami. I expect LeBron, personally, this is from my standpoint, if they don't win a championship this year, I expect him to leave after next season. And I expect him to fully consider the Cavaliers again. And this is just from me. I've talked with other people around him. I've talked with other scouts. They all believe that LeBron is unhappy in Miami. And I'm not trying to be a homer here, but I can see him either returning to Cleveland or even a possibility of going somewhere else, possibly to the Lakers, because the Lakers don't really have anyone under contract for the 2013-2014 season yet. But apparently, from what I understand, he misses it, and he just isn't happy in Miami. So I could see a return coming, and believe me, Dan Gilbert would be willing to take the wins. An apology is an apology. Winning is more important than anything else. And I could see that happening, especially if the Cavaliers will have the ability to surround him with talent. We have multiple first-round picks over the next few years.
Let me jump in right there on the first-round picks. I don't know that I have the stomach to consider the LBJ back to CLE conversation right now, but I think that's something that will persist for a while, because whether he wins a title there or not, if he's not happy, he's not happy, and we'll have to get to that.
You have to look at Pat Riley's ruling, that team with an iron fist, basically. LeBron doesn't really have a lot of say in the first, a lot of say in anything. Pat Riley, other than the big three, his personnel moves for the most part have just been terrible. The Mike Miller signing did not work out. He's been terrible. Shane Battier has been awful on both ends of the floor. He was expected to come there after having a good season with Memphis last year to come in there and clean up on the defensive end. He really hasn't done much either. In Miami, he's not any better than they were last year. Norris Cole had started the season off hot. He hasn't done much since. I think Miami's in another situation where this year, where they're going to look and say, besides the big three, they really don't have anyone they can go to. Udonis Haslem, hasn't done a ton this year. He's been all right. And Mario Chalmers is just Mario Chalmers. He's a mediocre point guard. And, if you look at it, if Cleveland can surround LeBron with future talent, like I said, it's still early and the fans are still very bitter towards him. You have to look at the business side, though. And don't forget, the Cavaliers were selling out every game when LeBron was there. They sold out every single game. Even when the Heat come to town, they still manage to sell out every game when the Heat come back to town. He's obviously he's the biggest show in the NBA. They would land the Cavaliers 33 nationally televised games again every season. They'd be a deep team in the playoffs every year. Their merchandise sales would be higher. Dan Gilbert would be a fool not to consider him back in Cleveland, which I think he will. If LeBron opts out, I think Cleveland's a strong possibility to get him back. I really do.
Well, let's talk a little bit. You said in the next few years we have a lot of number one draft picks. Let's talk about. I read another article on the Plain Dealer talking about the difference between Danny Ferry and Chris Grant, the different GM moves that they have made with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's talk a little bit about what you think of what Chris Grant has done, because obviously his. Well, if you want to sum up, I'll step out of the way here, but if you want to sum up the Baron Davis trade release, however you want to phrase it, because we ended up getting draft picks and one turned into Irving, because we would have just had Tristan Thompson. I'm going to step aside. Talk about the moves and the draft picks and how you feel they've been loading the roster to thrive in the next few years.
Okay, I'm going to talk about that. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is just the difference between Ferry and Grant, and then I'll get to that.
Okay.
The difference between Danny and Ferry and Chris Grant were, Ferry took over for Paxson. It was the GM under Gordon Gunn, who we lost, Carlos Boozer. And Ferry stepped in the next year after Paxson was fired and basically went in. The Cavaliers were too good after LeBron's first year to get any significant draft picks, basically, to be selecting high. So we could not build through the draft. So what we did was the Cavaliers had a bunch of bad contracts on their roster. Ferry would turn a bad contract, and they'd take a player in return with a bigger contract who was obviously had a better talent. But, it was still a bigger contract. And we kept taking those, the Drew Gooden trade, and we took on Ben Wallace's contract. The one bad signing they made that, was Larry Hughes. Had we been able to go get Joe Johnson instead, who knows, the Cavaliers might have a couple rings now.
Or if Carlos Boozer had been there to team up with LeBron.
Yeah, but, that was Paxson. It wasn't Ferry who lost Boozer, so I don't blame Danny Ferry for that.
Okay.
But Ferry kept taking on money and taking on more contracts, and Dan Gilbert was all right with spending the money. He's also all right with spending the money with Chris Grant. Chris Grant's just doing it in a different way. We realized we couldn't attract any big-name free agents. I think if LeBron originally committed to Cleveland for a longer period of time, that the Cavaliers would have been able to attract significant free agents. I think it was the fact that they were worried about playing without LeBron.
Can you reiterate that point? I want you to say that one more time and say it a completely different way, because I think that is so crucial that people remind themselves that when LeBron looked around and said that, oh, these other people are going, other superstars are being teamed up, it was LeBron's fault. At least part of it, at least a significant part of it, was that LeBron was not showing a commitment. So why the hell is another free agent go? Can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Yeah, they failed to land Trevor Ariza and Ron Artest a couple of years ago because both, the Cavaliers were going to essentially land one of them if they could get a commitment from LeBron to stay another, to either opt in for his final year or if he, committed to staying and would sign a new deal. LeBron originally told Trevor Ariza that he was going to opt in, and that he was going to stay, but Ariza wanted a full commitment on paper. Couldn't do that, so
Smart
Ariza
man.
wound up signing, I believe, with the Rockets. And Artest wound up going to the Lakers, and the Cavaliers, the Cavaliers got, they got screwed out of both of those players because LeBron couldn't make the commitment. We lost a lot of players because LeBron could not commit to the Cavs for a long-term future. And that was the problem. He wanted us to go out and acquire Chris Paul or Chris Bosh all that time. We did not have the assets to go after one of those guys. We would have had to wait till free agency to go and get one of them. We just did not have enough to give up on the roster, and we didn't have any of the draft picks were basically worth nothing because we were finishing with the best record in the league every year. So it was going to be the 29th or 30th pick in the draft anyway, so those picks were insignificant because usually if you don't land an impact player at 29 or 30. Now, getting back to the Chris Grant situation, Chris Grant's philosophy is Dan Gilbert's still willing to spend unlimited money. Last year, they went and gave up Mo Williams and Jamario Moon to take on Baron Davis's contract and get essentially what was supposed to be the 8th overall pick in the draft. And they basically spent $10 million on what they thought they were getting the 8th pick in the draft. Well, it just so happens the lottery gods were on our side, on the Cavs side. They managed to get the number 1 overall pick out of it, and they were able to land Kyrie Irving out of it. They were very fortunate.
Yeah.
But originally that pick was slated to be 8th. And they got, like I said, they were very lucky. And since Dan Gilbert's willing to open up his wallet, it managed to land the Cavs Kyrie Irving because of that. Otherwise, we would have just wound up with Tristan Thompson.
Man, could you imagine this year with? Could you imagine this year with just Tristan Thompson without the because Kyrie Irving?
I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine it.
Oh. At least Kyrie...
They would be the worst team in the league.
Yeah, at least Kyrie... Well, but then again, then you have another building block, but who cares about next year's building block when you have a Kyrie this year? Take it and keep moving, I guess.
Like, we were very fortunate to also land a superstar point guard because there are none in this year's draft. There's some great players in this year's draft, one of the most talented drafts in league history, but there are no superstar point guards available in this draft as far as when I've looked at it. I haven't seen any future superstar point guard.
And you think that's so important because next year we can make a play to get LeBron back and we'll have a superstar point guard.
I think so. I mean, you can't win without a great point guard in the NBA. I mean, I don't even think it's a matter. I don't think they're waiting on LeBron. I really don't. I don't
No. I don't think they are, and I'm not insinuating that.
But it's what upsets me is when people look and they go, "Oh, the Cavaliers would be foolish to take LeBron back," and I said, "It'd be foolish not to. You have to look at it. Essentially, you can either watch basketball for the next 5 to 6 years with the Cavaliers winning anywhere from 35 to 50 games a year, constantly being in the playoffs like the Atlanta Hawks and going, being another 4 or 5 seed, and constantly getting knocked off in the second round, or you have the ability to go out, and if LeBron James wants to resign with you, I don't know how you say no. Because otherwise he's going to go somewhere else and beat you.
Zach, have
you
you ever
go out and
I take your point, but let me ask you: have you ever had a relationship with somebody and it went bad, and then you had the opportunity to go back to them? Have you ever personally been in a situation like that?
Yes, but this is a business. It's a business decision too.
Well, marriages are business, though.
But here's the thing: the Cavaliers as a franchise are worth $150 million more when LeBron was on the team than they were without him. The arena sells out every game. All their games are on that. Most of their games are on national TV, and then they're on NBA TV when they're not. That's the thing. You have a lot of exposure. It's a lot of good exposure for the city. Fans are constantly coming to downtown every night. You're going to have, rather than having 14,000 fans a game, you're going to have 20. Don't forget Gilbert's opening up the new casino downtown. It makes for more people to be downtown after the game, and more people are willing to drink and spend money after a Cavaliers win than they are a loss. I know personally when I used to go down to games downtown, that I'd rather stay down and drink after a win than stay down and drink after a loss. That's just me personally. I know a lot of other people are like that too. But looking at it from the business standpoint, and just from everything else from a winning standpoint, if you want to win a championship, that is your way to go. If you have the chance this year to go and draft a significant player, if the Cavaliers win the lottery again this year, and they somehow wind up with Anthony Davis from Kentucky as the number 1 overall pick, then they will be one of the best teams with or without LeBron James in the next 2 years anyway, with Davis and Irving on the same team.
You are painting an interesting thought process for me to just ponder at the end of a long week here. You are really twisting my brain with this.
But getting back to Chris Grant
yes,
has
thank you.
basically taken Dan Gilbert's, ability to open up his wallet, and he said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to try to acquire so many first-round picks. So if players don't want to sign within free agency, we can still land picks that'll help us in the future, kind of like what Oklahoma City is doing. Oklahoma City was not able to land any free agents. They've done it through trades and through first-round picks. And the reason why they've never been able to, nobody wants to play in Oklahoma City. I mean, if you think Cleveland's bad, it does not compare to Oklahoma City. I've been to Oklahoma City. It doesn't even look like it's in America. You wouldn't know you're in America when you're there. And judging by that, is Oklahoma City, they've had a great front office, Sam Presti. They've had an amazing front office. And they've been willing to spend the money on their own players, which is nice. It's just the problem of attracting free agents. But, they're putting on a winner now. They can build around Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. And I think Chris Grant's trying to mold the Cavaliers after that model, by having your point guard. I think Irving will wind up being a better point guard than Westbrook in the future. But it's a matter of being able to land your Durant-type player, whether you can land one of the top 6 or top 7 picks in this year's draft. There's a lot of great players in this year's draft. And hopefully the Cavaliers can add a wing player, to go along with Kyrie Irving, because Tristan Thompson is going to be a future stud at the 4. Like I said, he just needs to develop offensively, and that'll come in time in the near future. It might take 2 to 3 years. But the Cavaliers, one of the things they're trying to preach to the fan base is patience, and that's what you have to do. You can't build a winning team overnight. The Miami Heat tried to do that last year. They still didn't win the championship.
Well, that's one of the things people need to remember about Cleveland and LeBron James is that it was always do everything you can to keep this boy, this man-child, happy now to get him to sign his next 3-year deal. You got to keep him happy now and competitive now, or else we might lose him. And then that leads to trading away your draft picks. It leads to taking on massive contracts. And then to not even call the organization and give him a backup plan so they could start making other decisions because he wanted his primetime special, his ego fest. He basically jumped to a team in the Miami Heat that had previously won a world championship and completely let their team fall to crap to the point where they got Michael Beasley and they let it fall to crap a second year so they could gut everything. He went to an organization so loyal and so committed to winning that they intentionally tanked at least 2 years. And to say that Cleveland was such a bad option, and he didn't say it, but he said it by what he wasn't saying. That to think that Cleveland
he said, I didn't
was
have an opportunity to win a ring there.
And you got to be kidding me. You can't get past Dwight Howard, so you go out and get Shaquille O'Neal, who let's not forget, had he not broken his finger against the Celtics, that team was rolling. And it was Mike Brown's
Oh, yeah.
inability to change and shift with JJ and kind of figure out the post-Shaquille O'Neal. But we went out and fixed the Orlando problem with Dwight Howard, with Shaquille O'Neal, neutralized
and the Lakers
it.
problem. And it
Yes,
also fixed the Lakers problem. Look
we
what
beat
did to
them
the
that
Lakers
year.
in the regular season.
Absolutely.
They went and destroyed them both games. And, the fact that Boston shouldn't even been a challenge for the Cavs, it somehow became a challenge because basically LeBron essentially quit on the team.
Absolutely.
Which I still believe he did. You rewatch Game 5, and you just look at it and you're like, there's no way you go and watch Game 4 and Game 5. After what the Cavaliers did to Boston after they just annihilated them in Game 3. We won by over 30 points on the road in Boston. The Cavaliers hadn't won in Boston since the Big Three had been there, and they just dominated. I mean, I looked in and I go, okay, this series will be over in 5.
I have said it before that I've watched enough Hollywood movies. I guess that's kind of redundant, but I've watched enough movies where I've seen where the guy is into the mob, and the mob has kidnapped one of his family members or is waving some sort of Damocles over their head, some sort of blackmail, and they have to do something uncomfortable, something they don't want to do that goes against their morals because they know they have to get that thing back. And I watched LeBron's performance, and it was like, how people talk about shoeless Joe Jackson, that he hit for a high average, he played well in the series, but he was also taking money from the gamblers to throw the series. To me, it seemed like LeBron was a guy who was either blackmailed or had already signed a deal elsewhere, and he knew that if he won with the Cavs, there's no way he could have went and joined his little, I'll leave the adjectives out, his little party, his little fiesta down in South Beach. It looked like a man who had a child kidnapped.
He's all about the rings. If he would have been able to win a ring in his hometown, I think it would have been. I think it would have been harder for him to leave in the fact that you just won a ring. Now you're saying you can't win multiple titles here after you just won one. They were by far the most dominant team in the league. They had no reason to lose to an aging Boston team that barely scraped by with 50 wins that year.
2 out of 3 years we were the best team in the league. 2 out of 3.
Yeah. Well, LeBron's last 2 seasons, they were the best team in the league. LeBron's last years, they won 66 and then 61. They were the number 1 seed both years in the conference.
And what would you say to someone who said, well, look what happened when he left. They were the worst team in the league.
But here's the thing, though. One, he held the franchise hostage all summer. They couldn't make any free agent moves.
Yep.
He held them hostage until everybody else signed. We couldn't sign anyone because they were waiting on his move all the time because it was either, get LeBron and then go and try to get a sign and trade for Chris Bosh, or go and try to do a sign and trade for Amari Stoudemire at that point, and before he would sign with the Knicks. And the Cavaliers were held hostage all summer. They couldn't make a move. It should have just been an eye-opener at that point. If he's delaying the decision, he's not staying. He just doesn't want to be the enemy this long.
Is that what Dwight Howard is doing?
Dwight Howard just opted in for his final year after demanding a trade. I think Dwight Howard.
That was weird, though. That was very weird.
I think he felt bad at the last moment and goes, okay, I realize what happened to LeBron, but if you look at all these guys who have changed cities in the past years, look at Darren Williams. That experiment in Brooklyn is not happening
what
right now.
What a mess.
They're one of the worst teams in the league. I bet you he bolts for Dallas this summer. I bet he bolts for Dallas. Dwight Howard will not be traded to the Nets this summer. I doubt that. And who knows? He might re-up in Orlando long term. I really don't know what happens with Dwight Howard. He's definitely an enigma. I have no clue what happens to him. The LeBron experiment in Miami, a lot of people hate him around the NBA. The Big Three was an embarrassment last year. When you're playing with essentially 3 of the top 10 players in the NBA, there's no reason why you shouldn't win a title. It doesn't matter who you're playing around. You should be able to win a title. You shouldn't have been able to get beat by Dallas last year in 6 games. And that didn't work out for either of them. Amari and Carmelo in New York obviously hasn't worked out. Denver was a much better team with Carmelo than New York is, with Carmelo. And, Amari had to leave Phoenix. He didn't have a choice. Phoenix didn't want to re-sign him. Robert Sarver, the owner there in Phoenix, was just a horrible owner and opted not to re-sign Amari. And so he left. But Amari made a good decision last year. He took the Knicks from last place. They were an 8-seed playoff team basically with him before they got Carmelo. And then everything fell apart when Carmelo went there. And, they already fired their coach, Mike D'Antoni. But, I think a lot of these free agents are starting to realize, they go, you know what, I think it was in a better situation before I left for the big market. It's not it's not all gold, and everybody thought these superstars playing together, kind of like what happened in Boston, you know, with the big three there, you know, landed them a championship. You know, that team, as good as they were, only won one ring, and they were lucky to be in the second championship because they beat Cleveland.
Right.
You know,
do you think looking back that LeBron's superhuman, and I've watched Jordan take over games, I've watched Kobe take over games, and I will say I have never seen a player completely dominate a playoff game in my lifetime like LeBron did against the Pistons in, what was that, 07?
I say that all the time. I said, I don't know what happened. People are like, LeBron doesn't have the killer instinct. And I go, he had it.
That LeBron had it. Yeah, he had it.
You know, I think the fact is playing with Dwayne Wade has made him so fearful of missing the last shot, you know, that he just doesn't even want to be responsible for it. You know, let Dwayne Wade be responsible for taking the last shot. You know, if it falls on me, I can't take the pressure. You know, last year when they lost the championship, every time they would lose, he would refer to Dwayne Wade. He couldn't answer the question. He would look at Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade would have to answer it. You know, I think it crippled LeBron's personality and crippled his on-court. I think it crippled his clutch gene, if you want to say that. And it was no longer in existence.
But do you think that was a curse?
Honestly,
go ahead.
I think, honestly, if he came back to the Cavs, you know, people are going, oh, we're never going to win a championship. He doesn't have a killer instinct. Well, Kyrie Irving's won 4 games for us in the final seconds this year.
Yeah.
So I believe Irving can do it. And don't forget, they're going to have a top draft pick this year. They're probably going to have a lottery pick next year. I believe there'll be another lottery team next year. I'm not saying how high or how low they'll be, because I have no clue how good they'll be next year, and it depends what they do in free agency. But assuming they really, you know, going with essentially the same roster with a draft pick, you know, with 2 first-rounders, they're not going to be much better. You know, they'll be better, but not a ton. They'll probably be around a 500 team picking towards the end of the lottery. You have another chance to land another, you know, good player. And next year, we own the Miami Heat's first-round pick. But if the Lakers have a worse record, we have the ability to swap it with the Lakers pick, which is another big thing, because if the Lakers tank next year and they're not very good, which is a possibility with Kobe aging, you know, Bynum's contract, Bynum just opted in for his final year next year. But, you know, Gasol could be traded. They could go into a rebuilding mode because, like I said, they have no contracts on the books for 2013 to 2014. So they could essentially start trading pieces away next year. So let's say the Lakers are the 15th best team in the league, 16th, you know, they're 8th seed in the playoffs or something next year. I'm just saying possibly. The Cavaliers have the ability to swap the 30th pick with the 16th and land another impact player in next year's draft. That's what's so big about the Ramon Sessions trade, is that we essentially got a higher pick next year, because you know the Heat are going to be drafting in the late 20s next year at the earliest, unless there's a significant injury.
Well, do you think that they're going to be able to package any of those trades and move up even higher, 2 for 1?
In the first round, I don't believe any team in the first round, it just depends what team needs are. This draft is filled with a lot of great power forwards, which the Cavs really don't need because they have Tristan Thompson. But if you have a guy like, you know, I think the best fits for the Cavs are, obviously Anthony Davis is a great fit just because he's the best player in the draft. No matter what he does offensively in his career, he will always be an all first-team NBA defensive player. I mean, he is that good. He's a can't-miss prospect just because of his defensive abilities. I think that the Cavaliers, a great fit for the Cavs would be Michael Kidd-Gilchrist from Kentucky, the small forward. Harrison, because I do think he's a great player. Harrison Barnes I like for the Cavs. I think Harrison Barnes could struggle if he goes with the wrong team. He needs to have to play with a team with a great point guard from North Carolina, because he can't essentially create his own shot. But he could be a guy who puts up 24, 25 a night playing alongside a great point guard like Kyrie Irving. He'd be another great fit for the Cavs. Thomas Robinson, he's a listed small forward, power forwardish, but he could play the 3 for the Cavs if need be. And I think he could be the stud of the position. And then I love Brad Beal from Florida, the shooting guard, and Jeremy Lamb, the shooting guard from UConn. I also like the center Cody Zeller from Indiana, but rumor is that he's staying in college for another year to develop his skills, but he'd be another great fit on the Cavs. If the Cavaliers feel that those guys are gone ahead of them and they need to move up because they don't want to get stuck with a guy like Myers Leonard, the center from Illinois, you know, let's say it's at 9 or 10 if they happen to play well over the last couple of weeks, then I would say you can try to package them up. But there's such a significant difference between the top players in this draft than sliding back 3 or 4 picks. You know, and that's why I don't know if they'd be able to package.
Could you package the next year? Could they package the next year and work something out?
Year,
you know,
it'd have to be lottery protected, because next year is another talented draft too. you have to protect the pick, or you can trade the Heat's pick next year. You can always do that too.
Can you try to sum up what the J.J. Hickson pick turned into? Because I'm a little confused as to what that was.
Essentially, we traded J.J. Hickson.
Yes.
In return, we got Omri Caspi. And we received a lottery-protected first-round pick this year. So meaning if the Sacramento Kings do not make the playoffs this year, we do not get their pick.
Okay.
So we have the pick next year, but I believe next year it's top 12 protected. I believe it's something like that. And so it means if the Sacramento Kings are picking in the top 12, we do not get the pick next year either. Then after that, I think for 2 years it goes to top 10 protected. And that means that the Kings do not finish they finish with the fifth worst record in the league and the seventh worst record. We do not get those picks. We do not get those picks if it's in the top 10. So, and then eventually it just slides down to a second round pick, I think after 5 seasons. But the odds are the Kings do have some young talent, so the odds are that they'll be picking out of the top 10 soon. Do they have any superstar potential on their team? Not really, but there's a chance that they'll be out of the top 10 within the next 2 years. They do have some talent, and they've actually been winning a lot of games over the last few games. So they've been playing decent basketball.
Well, Zac Baris.
But I would not.
No, go ahead.
I just want to say I would not say the Cavaliers or the Kings won that trade right now because Caspi's been awful for the Cavs, and Hickson, obviously bought out by the Kings, was awful there too. So
garbage in,
the trade
garbage
really
out.
Didn't work out for either side.
Or it worked out exactly how it was supposed to. Garbage in, garbage out. You don't give up much, and you don't get much. You get what you put in.
Both were supposed to be semi-impact players. I mean, Caspi was a good wing player for the Kings. He could be, like I said, he could just shift in next year. Byron Scott doesn't have the easiest system to, understand for in the first year. And you have to take in the fact that Caspi's foreign, his game may develop next year, but he could be a valuable piece off the bench for the Cavs in the future. So I think it's a little early to give up on him. Okay. Well,
Zac Baris, I think this is what happens when you and I don't talk for a couple of months. We went an entire... Well, I did ramble for about half a segment there in the beginning, but, I mean, we went straight through. We have not mentioned Peyton Manning, Tim Tebow, any of the Cleveland Browns, really any of March Madness. Okay, since March Madness is time-sensitive, give me your prediction on March Madness with the Elite Eight. Tell me what's going to happen tonight and what you expect ultimately. Really quick.
I expect North Carolina to come out of the South bracket. I'd love to see OU beat them, but I just don't know if that can happen. I think North Carolina is too talented, their front court. I see North Carolina coming out of there. I see it's going to be tough between Florida and Louisville. I like Florida. I like Brad Beal there. I see Kentucky coming out of the Midwest. And I hope Ohio State can beat Syracuse. I think if Syracuse had Fab Melo and wasn't suspended, I would take Syracuse. But with Ohio State's record, with the way Thomas and Solinger have been playing together, they just look like an unstoppable tandem as long as William Buford doesn't screw it up. Look, when Ohio State benched Buford last night, they played fantastic without him. I'm almost at the point where if Buford's playing poorly in the beginning of the game, just pull him and play Scott the entire game. It's just, Buford has cost Ohio State some games this year, and I think he's too big of a risk for tomorrow. But I still like Ohio State against Syracuse. And then Ohio State, North Carolina is a toss-up in my opinion. I'd actually take Ohio State and Kentucky to be my final two. And going off that, I think Kentucky would win that just because their front court's a little more dominant than Ohio State. But I think either way, I think that win could go either way.
Zac Baris, it's going to be a fun week watching college basketball. Get back to your scouting, good sir. It's always good having you on the program. Tell everybody where to find you on Twitter one more time if they want to follow up with you.
You want to follow me on Twitter? Zbaris, Z-B-A-R-I-S.
Excellent. Zach, to be continued, good sir. We'll have to do this again and maybe not space it out.
Sounds great.
You know what? I mean, we might as well start doing this. We have a roster of people that want to keep jumping on here. It's just a matter of availability. You've been traveling. You're back now. So
whenever you want to have me, I'm willing to do it. I just haven't been available for the past couple weeks.
Well, Lord, I'm dying to talk some Tebow, some Peyton Manning, some Cleveland Browns, the Combine, the NFL Draft, and all that stuff, but we're out of time for today. So, Zach, hey, hit me up in the middle of the week. Remind me. Let me know if you're definitely going to be around next Friday. We'll do this again.
Definitely. Well, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. That was Zac Baris. Oh, we love talking with Zach. The guy knows his NBA. That much is certain. And I know that we're out of time. So thank you very much for listening to the Unhappy Hour Sports Show on thenewamericanmedia.com. And we're getting ready to hit the reset button, stretch out a minute, shift gears just a little bit, and by a little bit, I mean completely, And we're going to be talking about GMOs. GMO. Do you know what that is? What if you were taking prescription drugs and didn't know it? What if you were ingesting chemicals you weren't aware of? Did you know that corn produces its own pesticides? No, I don't mean naturally. Not like Mother Earth did. Not like this is part of the grand design. Certain corporations are making Frankenfoods, is what some people are calling it. We're going to bring in Pam Larry, who is with labelgmos.org, and we're going to talk about genetically modified organisms and if you should be concerned eating them or not. When we come back after this quick commercial break on Agree to Disagree on thenewamericanmedia.com.
You are listening to the Agree to Disagree program on thenewamericanmedia.com.
Hi, Brian from thenewamericanmedia.com. Last year I had this idea. I wanted to start a website of my own, not just a presence on Twitter, a presence on Facebook, and have a thing. I wanted a website. I wanted a home base for all of the ideas and things I'm interested in. I wanted live radio. I wanted to communicate with the globe. I was tired of being spoon-fed dogma by corporate interests and just, here, believe this, believe this. I said, no, I think there's something underneath the surface, but I didn't know how to do it. So I contacted Ted Distel of disteldesign.com. Ted walked us through the process of, okay, you want videos, you want to do quotes of the day, you want to have a spiritual section, you want to have a 1984 watch where government's intruding and private corporations are intruding into your privacy. Yeah, those are the things that I was interested in. Ted walked me through the process. We built thenewamericanmedia.com, and I encourage you to go online and take a look at our site. That's what he's capable of. Please, if you have an idea, go to disteldesign.com. That's DISTEL design.com.
Have you ever considered adopting a pet to be part of your family? Our animal companions can be just as close to us as our human companions. If you're considering adoption, please visit your local shelter and adopt a pet today. Shelter pets make the best pets.
Follow thenewamericanmedia.com on Twitter at American_media_.
Hi, it's Brian from thenewamericanmedia.com. I'm a sports fan. I was raised in Cleveland, spent 25 years in Ohio. I watched the drive, the fumble, the shot too. I watched Art Modell steal the Cleveland Browns and win a Super Bowl over in Baltimore. I watched a horrible coach named Bill Belichick go on to the Patriots and win Super Bowls over there. Hooray. I am a bitter sports fan. Let's not even talk about what happened with he who shall not be named who went to South Beach to take his talents there. Excuse me, I almost threw up in my mouth a little bit there. I am a sports fan who cares to talk about the things that matter to me. That is the Indians, the Cavs, the Browns, and the Buckeyes. But of course, I pay attention to national sports, and we discuss that on our show as well. That's why we have The Unhappy Hour every single Friday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific. Sit down, have a drink. It's the end of a long work week, and we can all get together and talk about the unhappy times that we've had as sports fans. We've all had them. We've had ups and downs, but as Cleveland fans, we only have downs. Join us.